Guys, this is our last lesson today, and it's lesson 13 of module 5, and we're going to talk about clocks. The directions say circle the correct clock, write the time for the other two clocks on the lines. So, number 1, circle the clock that shows 1:30 o'clock. So if it's 1:30, we know that the minute hand, the long hand, has to be pointing to the 6. So it's not clock A. But what time does clock A say? It says 1 o'clock. So let's write that on the line, because that's not the right time. 1 o'clock. The next one says the minute hand is pointing at the 6, so that's the right way for 1:30. And the minute hand, the hour hand is just past the 1, so that says 1:30 or 1:30. So we're going to circle clock B. And now let's look at clock C and see what time it says. We know it's going to be 30 or 1/2 because the minute hand is pointing at the 6. And the hour hand is just past the 12. So that means it's 12:30 or 12:30. We'll write it 12 with the 2 dots, 30. Number 2 says circle the clock that shows 7 o'clock. So if it's o'clock, it means the minute hand or the long hand has to point at the 12. And since it says 7 o'clock, the hour hand is going to point at the 7. Good. So is clock A doing that? The hour hand is pointing at the 7 and the minute hand is pointing at the 12. So that means 7 o'clock. What time does the next one say? The minute hand is at the 12. The hour hand is at the 8. So it's 8 o'clock. And I'm going to write 8 o'clock on the line. Clock C has the hour hand pointing at the 6 and the minute hand pointing at the 12. Write down what time that says on the line. Good. You should be writing down 6 o'clock. Number 3 says circle the clock that shows 10 o'clock. If we're talking 1/2, we know it's going to be, the minute hand is going to be all the way around on the 6 because it has to go halfway around the clock. So 10 o'clock. The hour hand will point just a little past the 10. So let's see. Oh, that's not right because our hour hand is pointing just past the 11. So it's not clock A. So we have to look at the time on clock A. And we're going to write it down just past 11:30. Good job. Remember, we're looking for the clock that says 10:30. So we know right away this one's not right because what is the minute hand pointing at? 12. So that means o'clock. And our hour hand is at the 11. So that one is 11. Oops. O'clock. There we go. And the C clock says the minute hand is pointing at the 6 or 1/2, and the short hand or the hour hand is just past the 10. So that says 10:30 or 10 o'clock. So that's the one we're going to circle. Number 4, what time is it? Write the times on the line. It's the minute hand is on the 12, so we know it's o'clock. And it's pointing to, let's see, I think that would be a 2, don't you? Good. And down here we're going to put 2:00 for o'clock. It's kind of hard when there's no numbers on the clock, but we know where they are. We know it's 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we know the minute hand is pointing at the 6, so that would be 30. And the hour hand is just past the 4. So we're going to put 4:30. It's tricky without numbers. So we know the 9 is here and the 3 is here. And the 12 is here and the long hand or the minute hand is pointing at the 12. When we write that in digital, it means the zeros go at the end. And what do you think the shorthand would be pointing at? What number is right there? Good, 10 o'clock. Turn it over so we can do the back page. We're going to draw the minute and the hour hands on the clock. Remember, the minute is long and the hour hand is short. So the first one says 1 o'clock. That means our long hand goes to the 12 and our short hand goes to the 1. 1:30. Where does our minute hand point to when it's 30? Good, it points to the 6. And our hour hand points just a little past the 1. If it's o'clock, our long hand, our minute hand will point at the 12, and our short hand will point at the 2. "6:30, where will our minute hand point? The long hand will point at the 6. And then because our hour is 6, we're going to make our hour hand just a little bit right next to it. If we're pointing, if it says 7:30, our minute hand points to the 6, good, and our hour hand points just past the 7. Where again does our minute hand point when it says 30? To the 6, good job. And this time we're going to point just past the 8 with our shorthand or our hour hand. 10 o'clock. So I know that you guys know where our o'clock long hand goes. Perfect, it goes right up to the 12. And our hour hand, it's easy, it goes right to the 10. I think the o'clocks are the easiest. O'clock, our hour hand goes to the 11, and our minute hand is on the 12. And if it's 12 o'clock, where do both the hands point to? Good job, they both point to the 12. Now we're going to do 30 again, and we know that when it's 30, the long hand points at the 6. And our hour hand has the 9, so it's going to be just past the 9. The o'clock means it is going to be, the long hand will point at the, say it, 12. And the hour hand will point at the 3. And we have 5:30. That means with the 30, our minute hand points at the 6, and our hour hand points just past the 5, so it's 5:30. Nice job. I'm going to look at our homework and make sure it makes sense. It says fill in the blanks. We have clock A that reads 4:30 and clock B that reads 3:30. Clock blank shows 3:30. What's 3:30? 4:30 or 3:30? Good. Clock B shows 3:30. This clock reads 12 o'clock. This clock reads 12:30 or 12:30. So clock blank shows 12:30. Which one is it, A or B? Good, it's B. Put a B on the line. The next one says o'clocks, because the long hands are pointed at the 12. The minutes hands are at the 12. This has the hour pointing to 11, so it's 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock. So is it clock A or clock B that shows 11 o'clock? Good, that would be clock A showing 11 o'clock. Now we have clock A that says it's just past the 8 and it's pointing to the 6, so it's 8:30 or 9 o'clock. Clock A or clock B shows 8:30. Write it down. You should have written down the letter A. The last one on this page, we have clock A and it reads with the minute hand on the 6, so we know it's 30. The shorthand is just past the 5, so it's 5:30. And clock B has the long hand or the minute hand on the 12. And the hour hand is pointing to the 5, so that one says 5 o'clock. So let's read what the question is. Clock blank shows 5 o'clock. Which one shows it? Write it down. A or B? Good, you should have wrote down B. Turn it over to the back. We're going to do some more clocks. Are you tired of clocks yet? It's not bad. Write the time on the line under the clock. So, we could write 1 o'clock digitally, or 1 o'clock, we could write it out. I'm going to write 1 o'clock. This one says the hour hand is pointing just past the 11 and the minute hand is pointing to the 6. What does that mean? So we know it's going to start with 11. We're going to put the little dots for the digital. And if the long hand is pointing to the 6, it means 30. That clock reads 11:30. Clock letter C has the long hand or the minute hand pointing at the 12, so that means o'clock. The short hand is pointing at the 6, so let's write that in digital form. 6:00. This one says 7:30. So we're going to write half past 7. It barely fits there. The next one has the long hand or the minute hand pointing at the 6, and the short hand is just past the 5. If we write that digitally, it'll be 5, ... and what comes next? 30. Excellent job. The long hand or minute hand is still pointing at the 6, so we know the end of our answer is going to have 30. Let's look at our hour hand. It's just past the 2 and not yet to the 3, so it is 2:30. Number 9. When the long hand or the minute hand is pointing at the 12, we know that means o'clock. And the hour hand is pointing at the 7, so it says 7 o'clock. I could write the word 7 o'clock, or I could write it digitally, 7 ... I'm going to write it both for you. You don't have to write it that way. I'm just showing how you can do it both ways. Either or. Okay, guys? Write the time on the line under the clock. This says 11 o'clock, so we're going to write 11 o'clock. And the next one has the shorthand at a little past the 9, so let's write a 9, and the long hand or the minute hand is pointing at the 6. What does that tell us? Is it 00 or 30? Hope everyone said, oops, oh my goodness, 30. Okay, number 7 says, put a check next to the clock or clocks that show 4 o'clock. So we're looking for 4 o'clock, so our long hand or our minute hand has to be on the 12. And I'm looking right here and, perfect, it's on the 12, and our short hand is pointing to the 4. So does that show 4 o'clock? Yes, yay, put a check mark. This can't be right because our minute hand isn't pointing at the 12, so we'll leave that one blank. This one could be right because our minute hand is pointing at the 12, but our hour hand is pointing at the 3, so that clock says 3 o'clock. Wrongo badongo. The next one says 4 ... and 00, which means o'clock, so let's check that one also. And you're done with that. The next section is a template. If you feel like you need some more practice, do this page. If you think that you don't need any more practice and you know how to tell time perfectly to the half hour, then you don't have to do this page. It's up to you. Have a good day.